Hi everybody, it's Dr. J. Want you to know I miss you all. Seems like it's been forever since we've had class. And it's time that we start a brand new unit. And so I'm creating a couple of videos to get you off the ground. So let's get right to it. So on the screen you should be able to see this is our pacing chart, and I just made the link for the ArrayList unit. And so if you go here and you click on it, you should get the brand new topic, all of the stuff we're going to do, and then the programs we're going to that you have as required, and then the optional ones as well. So with that in mind, let's talk about the brand new topic. So let's get right at it. So I'm in Eclipse, and you can see that the brand new topic here is an introduction to an array list. So let's talk about briefly what an array list is. The idea that it's a list is kind of a giveaway. You know that we did the one-dimensional array before, and we talked about this was a list of items. They could be int or double or whatever. Okay, and it was sort of like this stack of or this like grouping of it was a way to store a whole bunch of the same kind of things all in one variable, and that was the one-dimensional array. And you might remember something like this. We did like int brackets, and we call them items equals new int, and then the size of it. This was a way to create a brand new integer array that had 5 elements in it, and you could store 5 numbers in this list called items. Okay, and just briefly, to get at each of those in the one-dimensional array, you would use the brackets and the index to identify which slot you were working with. You could, like replace a value. This is how you could replace it. Or if you just wanted to print it, you could just do a system.out.println line of this, and it would print that. So this number represented the indexed. You might have remembered me talking about this as being a like the locker number, so on. Okay, so anyway, so this is from a blast from the past, and that had to do with a list. It was a one-dimensional list, and so we're going to learn another type of way that you can store a list of things, and it's called the array list. So I'm going to make a list of integers right now, and this is how you do it. So we're going to use this new word called ArrayList. Notice how it's typed. And then I'm going to do something weird. We've never seen this before. This is an integer. And then I'm going to call this items, just like I did in the one above, to show you that this is how we did it for an array. But I'm making another one, but now this one is called items, but it's an array list. And then I'm going to say new array list, and then I'm going to type in the word integer again, and then parentheses. Okay, so you'll get used to this. This looks weird to begin with. So first thing you're going to notice is that you get an error right away. If you hover over this, you're going to see that you have to do an import. It's the import of the java.util.ArrayList. So when I do that, automatic import, then that's how we can use the array list. Okay, so the first things first, an array list I think is a lot cooler than an array because of how that it works. There's definitely advantages to it, but sometimes there's disadvantages as well to the array. So when you make an array list, what happens is the array list is actually empty to begin with. Okay, And I'm going to show you something right now. I'm going to ask it how big it is. So you might remember when we worked with an array, we would do like items.length. Well, an array list, it's a different word. It's items.size. And size represents the length of the array list. So I'm going to print this, and so when I run it, it starts off at 0. So when you make a brand new array list, it starts off with nothing in it, okay, as denoted by its size being 0. Okay, so I'm going to add some numbers, some integers to it. Oh, by the way, this has to be the word integer. Just really quickly here, this is actually a different type of integer variable. You know how we've done this forever, int x equals 8, okay? What it is integer is like the superpowered int variable. It's actually something called an object, and so it has like different powers, like you can call methods on it and stuff. So anyway, what you can't do is you can't do this. See, I get an error with that. So what you have to do is you have to use integer. Okay? So, and we don't make integer variables like this. We just use an int because it's kind of a waste to make it with that integer variable. Okay, so let's continue on. I'm going to add the number 10, just kind of randomly, to the list. Watch this. I can say items, that's the name of the array list, and then I do dot, and then you can see I can do add right here. So I'm gonna double click on this, and it brings up E. E is actually called like a generic. It just means that it's like expecting you can add anything to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the number 10 to my list. Okay, and so if I run it, you can't see anything. At this moment in time, the size was still 0. Okay, and then I added 10 to it, but we can't see it actually happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste that line where it says the size of it. So it's kind of, this was the before, and then this is the after. Okay, so the number 10 is added to my list. Okay, now I'm going to do something weird that we could not do with ArrayLists, but it's kind of cool. We can do it with, or we could not do it with arrays, but we could do it with ArrayLists. And then is you can actually print the array list. So when I run this, it shows the number 10 in the brackets. The brackets are kind of just like showing you it's the array list. The numbers are enclosed in this list. Okay, so the 10 is in the list. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this a couple of times. Actually, watch this. I'm going to just copy this, and I'm going to do this a couple of times. See, there's one, and then I'm going to add the number 20, and then I'm going to add the number 30. Okay, and then I'm printing out how big it is with the size, and then I'm going to actually print it out, print out the list. So let's take a peek at this. So if I run it, so this was the size of it. Then I added the 1. I added the 10, and this is how big it was. Then I added the 20, and then that's how big it was. Then I added the 30, and that's how big it is. So this is what we call a one-dimensional list. It's called an array list, and the cool part about it is it's you can just throw numbers at the list, and when you add them, they get added at the end of it. Okay? So far, so good. Okay. So, unfortunately, this is one of the disadvantages. You can't hard code an array list like you could with an integer array. You might remember we did this a lot of times. You could say items, and then you could say, oh, put the numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, and whatnot into it. This is called hard coding the array. But this is one of the disadvantages. You cannot hard code an array. It always starts off with a length of a size of 0, and it's and you just have to add the items to the list. Okay, well, let's move on here. Actually, how far are we? I'm going to stop this one, and so you can move on to we'll move on to the next one.